What's up guys, Sean here, and today I want to talk about the government shutdown. Alright, so I wasn't going to make a video about this because a government shutdown is the biggest who cares news story in all of human history. For those of you who are worried about how this will affect you, 90% of the government functions as normal during a government shutdown. From what I can tell, the only difference between an open government and a government shutdown is that a few federal parks close. Other than that, pretty much nothing changes at all. In fact, during the last government shutdown in 2013, President Obama actually sent federal agents to force the World War II monument to close. The World War II monument is an unstaffed national park. It's completely open to the public and it doesn't require any workers to be there. So in reality, there were actually more government workers present and working than if there was no shutdown at all. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, if this is a non-story, then why am I bothering to make a video about it? The reason I'm making a video about this is there's actually a debate about who's at fault for this government shutdown. In fact, the majority of the American people believe that it is either Trump or the Republicans, which is completely ridiculous and ass backwards. For those of you who are unaware, members of Congress have not put together and passed a budget in years. I forget the exact number of years the federal government has been operating without a budget, but in lieu of a budget, what the government's been doing for funding is passing a series of things called continuing resolutions. Now, it used to be that continuing resolutions were essentially a last resort. Basically, you were doing budget negotiations, you knew you couldn't get something passed, so you passed a continuing resolution to give yourself a few more weeks to hammer out the details. However, now everything is funded through a continuing resolution. It essentially went from a last resort kind of thing to give yourself more time to just how the government functions normally, because who cares about passing a budget? Because, you know, if you pass a budget, then you're going to have a problem when people look at the budget and they're like, no, I don't really agree with that. So just pass a continuing resolution and you never have to worry about it. Problem solved, right? Now, continuing resolutions, just like any other financial bill, have to be passed in the House, passed in the Senate, and then signed by the president. Now, this might all sound pretty easy considering the Republicans control both the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And the fact that they control all three branches is probably the reason that they're being blamed for this shutdown. However, it's not as simple as controlling all three branches of government. There's one key fact that the media is just lying to the American people about. And that's the fact that the filibuster still exists in the Senate. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the filibuster. I like my politics as obstructionist as possible. But when the Democrats are filibustering the bill, and a filibuster requires 60 votes to break, blaming the Republicans for the government shutdown is just factually not true. It's a straight up lie. And that's exactly what's happening. And by the way, the Democrats are not even filibustering over anything budget related. They're filibustering to legalize all DACA recipients. That's right, the US federal government is shut down now over people who are not citizens of the United States. In fact, it's over people who came to the United States illegally. Essentially, what the Democrats are trying to do is get legal status for all DACA recipients in exchange for a month's funding of the government. And by the way, the Republicans and Trump are not really against DACA. They just want to get something in exchange for DACA. They want to get immigration priorities later on. So what they want to do is just pass this continuing resolution and then work out a deal up until March on immigration. And basically what that future deal would be a trade of legalization for all DACA recipients in exchange for some wall funding, an end to chain migration, and an end to the diversity visa lottery program. Now, the Democrats don't want to trade anything for DACA. They just want to get it all for free. You see, when you paint your opponent as literally Hitler, any caving in makes you look like Neville Chamberlain. So yeah, usually when I do a video, I give you all the nuances of who's on what side and who's doing what, and I explain to you what percentage people are at fault and kind of give you a broader picture of a complicated topic. But this is actually a really simple topic that's being overcomplicated. The Democrats are 100% responsible for the government shutdown. Not 99%, not 98%, not 99.9%. 100% responsible. And the crazy thing about this is that in 2013, when Ted Cruz tried doing this to get rid of Obamacare, the same exact people in the Democratic Party and the media thought it was a ridiculous strategy to get what you wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer literally said on video that it would be crazy if he were to do something like this over illegal immigration.
This is playing with fire, and we are happy to negotiate. But we want to negotiate without a gun to our head. Speaker Boehner comes in and he says basically, it's sort of like this. someone goes into your house, takes your wife and children hostage, and then says, let's negotiate over the price of your house. You know, we could do the same thing on immigration. We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say we're shutting down the government. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos.
Yeah, I was not joking. That's literally Chuck Schumer in 2013 giving a crazy, chaotic example of something the Democrats could do but would never do because that would cause chaos and it's a stupid, idiotic political stunt. That's what they're doing right now, less than 5 years later. By the way, if Trump and the Republicans cave to the Democrats on this, then Trump is essentially done as the president. You really think that if you give the Democrats everything they want before they start negotiating on your priorities, you're going to get anything from them? I mean, just think for a second about how absurd that is. The Democrats are literally asking for all of their priorities right now just for a few weeks of funding for the government. And by the way, if they do somehow pull this off, presumably when the government is about to shut down again, they can do this again and start clawing back those tax cuts. Honestly, if I were Trump, I would say absolutely no way. We're not doing this now. We're doing this in March, just like I had planned. And if you don't like it, I'm going to start going down the list of DACA recipients and deporting them. Honestly, I'm not even in favor of that from a policy point of view, but that's how you actually negotiate. You come out strong, you lay out your terms, and you show that there are consequences for freaking holding up the government over some bullshit like this. I mean, honestly, there's no way that you can give into this. It's no coincidence that this is happening right after the tax cuts were passed and on the 1-year anniversary of Trump being sworn in. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. You guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, share, follow me on my social medias, support me, PayPal, Patreon, yada, yada, yada. Till next time.